What's up, guys? It's Plinio Cruz right here. I'm starting a new part of my channel. It's called Real Talk. I'm gonna be interviewing some very famous and nice icons of our sport and in general. My first guest is my brother and jiu-jitsu ace and master, Daniel Gracie. I'm gonna be talking about many aspects of his life and his career. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Talk. Alright guys, I'm Plinio Cruz. I'm here with Master Daniel Gracie. Thanks for showing up, thanks for support. Daniel's going to be sharing a little bit of his story with us and his mindset. What do you have to share for us at first? So, how was for you, Daniel, to grow up in a Grace household full of, those today's day stars and masters of jiu-jitsu around the world?
Well, I grew up in the same household with the fourth generation of the Gracie family, and it was amazing. Like, this experience that we had, it's something that it's going to be hard to see anywhere else in the world, because again, like, growing up with fighters, living the fight game, living the Gracie lifestyle, there was always someone doing something in the house. There was always someone crying, someone fighting, someone running. It was amazing. Like, I can describe how grateful it was, for me to be, growing with those guys. My cousins, my brothers, my mom's family, and my aunt's family. It was amazing.
And also, how was back in the days, you're a world-class black belt, all life training, you competed in the golden age of jiu-jitsu in the 90s. How was jiu-jitsu back then in Rio in the 90s, when the boom, the first world, the first Brasileiros, and that whole old school mindset back then? How was those days there for you?
Man, every fight was a war. It was like there was no one fighting just to get one advantage. Everybody had a very good defensive game, but also a very good aggressive game to win, going for submissions and other things. Look, I'm glad I lived the last generation that praised a aggressive jiu-jitsu and defensive jiu-jitsu at the same time, and a lot of basics, because that's what I think that we're missing in jiu-jitsu today. And I think my generation was the last one to learn not just how to do it, but also how to teach that. We, on my generation, when we got to the black belt, we couldn't be just good competitors. We had to be, good role models in terms of, person, teacher, and of course a good, teaching good techniques. So it was amazing. It was amazing.
It's funny because you mentioned that how different it is, the generation today. These kids, the way that they train, the way that they fight, but also their mindset is so different than the old school people. Our generation, we think a little bit different than you boys today's days. What do you think about the difference between back in the days and today's days in fighting in general mindset? Because I feel that the mindset that we have in jiu-jitsu back then is what the guys have in MMA right now. It used to be a much more rough atmosphere, and now like it is MMA and jiu-jitsu seem to be softening it up a little bit, at least in my opinion.
Well, what I think that it's exactly what you said. Jiu-jitsu evolved to something that it's a little different than the mindset that we had on that time. On that time, jiu-jitsu could not just be effective for a jiu-jitsu competition, but also to defend ourselves on the street. So a jiu-jitsu fighter had to know how to fight on the street if they need to. So this we actually transferred to our jiu-jitsu because the control was better. The positions that we got were solid. Today you see some people like just, I know if they could use the belt, they use the belt to trap you. So they're using the gi to trap you. They're using some grips. They are actually very good but in a defensive way and not the payback. You understand? Like one thing is you defending, someone is attacking you, defending, and then right after you defend something, it's your time to attack. It's your time to try to do something. And I think the mindset today is that people are satisfied with just accomplish one advantage and making an ugly fight because for them just merit to win. On my time, if you didn't win in a good way, you wouldn't be satisfied. You go home and not be happy with what you did. And today it's totally the opposite. So again, like the old school jiu-jitsu was more like a self-defense kind of jiu-jitsu that we transferred to competition. So we had the same mindset that was a fight. There was a fight. There was not a competition. And I think this made it on that time, like you said, the golden age of jiu-jitsu, more beautiful to watch because it was exciting.
Like just like you mentioned yesterday, the guy win by one advantage. How they do the gi?
Oh, they open the gi, they go like, ah, like they did the best job in the world, and they won just by one advantage. And I say that many times already. If there's two guys that are very aggressive, both of them are very good, but one end up winning the other just for one advantage, but they try to like really beat each other on the competition. That's a reason to celebrate. That's a reason to, celebrate in a good way. But if you're just fighting to get one advantage, accomplish one advantage, and, celebrate like you did the best job in the world, please don't do it. Don't.
It's funny because, we've been talking about this subject and it falls perfectly into that. Because, today's days, guys fight for money, guys fight for the show, guys fight, for the Instagram. Back then, we used to fight to defend, first of all, a name, an academy, a creed. It was about loyalty. It was about my crew against your crew. And if you guys don't know, the team that I grew up in Brazil, the Macaco Gold Team, used to be rivals from the Gracie Academy in Sao Paulo. And Daniel started in Rio, but he eventually moved and he started teaching in Sao Paulo. He started, being one of the head guys of BJJ there. Tell us about those rough but good days because at least, as I see, rivalry always makes the level of the fighters go up. And
whoa, have you ever been out of shape in Sao Paulo? Never. I could never be out of shape. My students could never be out of shape because we knew that at one point we would face each other on the street or in the tournament. So you couldn't be out of shape because you get your ass kicked.
Yep.
So that made everyone better on that time. That made everyone competitive, everyone in shape, everyone living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle that we don't have it today. What is okay? We defend our team, and it's like, defending a soccer team in Brazil. It's like a big rivalry. Like people fight for it, and that was the same thing for us. And there's no traitors. A traitor would be like bashed for like, let's say someone would trade my team and go to another team. It was very probably that team wouldn't accept the guy just because he traded me, just because he was a creonte and left my team to go to another team. So I'll get actually my rivals calling me and say, Daniel, why this guy left your team? What happened? And then if I said he's a bad guy, he's just someone that is not grateful, my enemies wouldn't accept that guy just because of that. Today, no. Today they don't care.
It's because also back in the days, besides the hate, the rivalry, what we always had for each other, regardless what side you come from, is the balls that you have to be loyal for who you are. And that is one thing that everybody respects.
And respect, that's the most important. Today you don't see respect anymore. On that time, even the enemies would respect each other.
So touching on that subject, tell us about your transition from when you went from Rio and you started teaching Sao Paulo, the Gracie Sao Paulo. How Gracie being one of the top schools that ever happened over there. Super famous, and a few of the stories from back in the days and those old school good days.
Well, a lot of people don't know, but there's, I hoped everyone knew that guy. Marcelo Bering was one of the best black belts in the history of Jiu-Jitsu. He was, on my point of view, Rickson Gracie's best black belt. And he got married to my cousin Kila Gracie. They have a son named Kewan, my nephew. So we got invited by Marcelo. Marcelo was always in our house in Rio, okay. Especially when he started to date Keela, he used to come to visit us and stay in our house. And then one day he told my mom and Hyan's mom, like my aunt, he said, "I'm gonna take the kids to Sao Paulo to train with me, to be there with me." And he took me and Hyan to Sao Paulo. And I remember it was interesting. We got to Sao Paulo first time, and the first week that we in Sao Paulo to start to train, he already came and said, "Oh, look, we have to go there. I have to talk to this guy," and because he's my oldest student, and they invited him to teach to replace me in my school, and I don't want him to do it, so I told him to not to do it, and he's doing it anyway. So we're gonna go there because if he doesn't want to fight me, he's gonna fight one of you guys. It was me and Hyla, like we two kids, and man, I get like all pumped up with adrenaline. Hyla's like, let me do it, I'll do it. And then we get in front of his school. The guy was coming out, and they start to argue. I was kind of like far away, me and Hein, and he start to argue. And at one point, he's like pointing to us. He's pointing to us, and then he called us to come close by. And what he was saying, he was asking him. I'm not going to say names, okay, just because I don't want it. But he was asking him to choose one of us to fight. And he said, I don't want to fight their kids. I don't want to fight them. And Marcelo said, no, then you're going to fight me. He's like, no, I don't want to fight you, please. And then Marcelo slapped him in the face. And it was like, so that was our first week in Sao Paulo. So it started already like that. And we spent a long time living there with Marcelo. Great human being. Like I learned so much from him. But later on, like fast forward, later on, Marcelo moved to Rio, and I get invited by Ryan and my cousin Ralph to move to Sao Paulo and open a jiu-jitsu school in Sao Paulo because Marcelo was not there anymore. And then we did, and it was very successful.
I tell my friends that it looked like, remembering back in those days, it seemed that we even was born like on a different world, on a different planet. Like it's so different than that fighting atmosphere from there than what it is here, and what the kids are doing today. It looked like we were born in like a different century.
100%, 100%.
Different time, yeah. So fast forwarding from there, you had a good career in jiu-jitsu, and from there you moved to the States. You started fighting Pride, which is the biggest, known for to be one of the biggest shows of all time in MMA, the most respected for sure. How was your transition, not only from jiu-jitsu to MMA and to Pride, but how we moved to America and you started here with hands and everything?
Well, I knew that one day, I said at one point I'm going to start to do MMA, but I didn't know when. But one thing that I had a mindset was I wanted to be known in jiu-jitsu first before I start MMA, and that's what I did. So I competed a lot in jiu-jitsu. I want to say that I went to at least semi-final of every world championship that I competed. I was 2 times world champion. 1 time on the brown belt, absolute. On the brown belt, I was an absolute champion, and I was second place in my weight division. That was my first worlds on the brown belt. And then the next year, I became champion. And I went 3 or 4 times. No, 1 time third place, and 3 times silver medalist. You know, I fought guys on the final like Fabio Gurgel 1 time, Saulo Ribeiro. Fernando Boy was one of the best guys on that time. I won. The one that I won was with Renato Ferro. Was one of the man. This kid was amazing. Like he beat me before. He beat me on the Brazilian Championship, and that was like I couldn't sleep for I don't know how long. I was like, man, I had to pay back. I had to win. And then I prepared just for that guy, and I faced him on the final of the Worlds, and I beat him. So after I accomplished all of that, and I was satisfied with what I did in jiu-jitsu, not so much because I knew that I could do better, but I was kind of like traveling back and forward, and I didn't have time to train that much. Was a little lazy. On that time, I could be. You know why? Because we relied a lot on our talent, and like that made us, a little like lazy. Jiu-jitsu guys were not athletes. Like it was, like I said, it was more like self-defense competition. It was just tough, and we win because we're tough. And I said, you know what? Now it's time to try something different. And I called my cousin Hanzo and I said, Hanzo, I want to start to fight MMA. And he asked me, have you ever boxed in your life? I said, yeah. You know wrestling? I'm like, yeah. Are you training? I'm like, yeah. Everything was yeah. Because if I said no, he would say, no, I'm not getting a fight. So he said, okay, come to New York, and I'm gonna get you a fight. Just come to train in New York, and I want to get you a fight. So I came to New York. Of course, I was out of shape, and then my MMA game was horrible. But I was coached by Hanzo, and I think in like 3 or 4 months, I was already beating up guys that were like kicking my ass like badly on the beginning. And it's funny. There's a image on online that people laugh when every time they see they tag me. It's Hanzo yelling at me that I did a front roll when I was training my cousin Rodrigo, and it's funny because that front roll like saved me in a bunch of fights. I love that position. I use it to today. The only reason he was yelling at me is because in pride you could knee the head if you're in front of the person. But I always did that position in jiu-jitsu, and I knew that I could roll faster than the person strike me. But the way he was yelling at me on that video, it's funny because I yell like that with my students now, and it's just like exactly.
It's funny because you were talking about those days on Jiu-Jitsu Real, just coming back on a subject. Orange's BJJ just posts, if you don't know, Orange's BJJ is a nice Instagram page that posts a lot of old school videos from Jiu-Jitsu. You have a lot of fun watching them. He posted a nice fight from you. They win, I think, was on Brasileiros, right? The national, something like that.
When I was a purple belt.
Yes. Tell people that story because people don't know that. That people know that you won that fight.
We hate Diogo.
That it had Carson Gracie the next day waiting for you at the academy.
So this what happened. People, why like that happened? People don't understand why the guy just show up at my academy to fight me. It was not like that. First, before that, Hey Diogo, I met him in Italy, and we are in Italy for about a year. He became my best friend in Italy. That was the only friend I had, and I came back to Brazil, and I never see him again. When I'm going to see the guy again? On the final of the Brazilian Championship, the first Brazilian Championship ever. And the fight started, it sucked because I didn't want to compete against him because he became one of my best friends. And I was beating him up. I took him down, and I passed his guard. The referee was my uncle Hobson, Hanzo's father, Carson Gracie's brother. Carson was very competitive, and Carson wouldn't accept anything, but the win from his athletes.
Very passionate coach.
Yeah. So Carson started to yell, complaining that my uncle Hobson, was giving me the points too fast. It's not that I didn't accomplish the points. I accomplished the points, but he said that he was giving the points too fast. And half of the round, Carson walked in the middle of the mats and stopped the tournament and get all his students inside of the tournament and simply stop the tournament, and my fight couldn't finish. My uncle Hobson lifts my hand up. I actually get the medal. They give me the medal, and but the fight never ended. I was winning the fight on that tournament. And I'm going to say, Hey Diogo was one of the most tough, one of the toughest fighters I ever had. On the purple belt, I was winning everything. That was the first time I had a really hard time with someone, was with him. And I said, like, you know what? That's good because he's my friend. I don't want to fight him. So that, you know, that was a good thing that happened. I don't remember for 3 days later or 4 days later. I remember I went out at night and I went to sleep like, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was partying. And
the good old days in Rio.
yeah, my cousin Helion wakes me up. Daniel. I said, what? He goes, come to the academy with me. I'm like, why? He said, Carlinhos asked me to bring you to the academy. And I said, fuck, I'm gonna get my brown belt. That was the first thing. I thought I was gonna get my brown. I swear to God, I thought I was gonna get my brown belt. And I was so young, that would be like an accomplishment. You know, I was so happy. I said, finally, I'm gonna get my brown belt. What was weird, Helion didn't want to drive. Helion said, let's go running. I'm like, Helion, I was partying the whole night. Like, he's like, one more reason, let's go running. He wanted me to get that warmed up. You know?
Wanted to get warmed up.
So like, okay, so we were like, it was close. It was not that far. It was just like good to warm up. Yes, but I wouldn't get that tired. But we ran to the academy and I got there and there I see Carson Gracie with Hey Diogo. Let's finish that match. I'm like, you kidding me? I thought I was gonna get my brown belt and now I have to fight. But it was funny, you know, like it's something that today people see the image and it's great because that's gonna be for, you know, it's gonna stay for his history, you know, because yeah, it's an image that now. So now you know why that happened is because we never finished our fight on the Brazilian Championship, and Carson brought Hey Diogo to finish the fight in my place.
Finish the academy.
Yeah.
You're not satisfied with the tournament? We meet at the gym.
Yeah, and then I remember he's supposed to fight after Romulo Cardoso was one of my training partners. He said if he wins, he's gonna fight Romulo in another day, not that day. And then he beat me by points. What I don't think I lost. There is the image. There is not the whole fight on that video. Okay, that's not the whole fight. But again, I'm not gonna complain. It was a great fight, and I was happy, you know, that after we became friends, that we never fought again.
So, you talk about you moved to US, you were training with Renzo, and how was the transition from that when you start fighting Pride? And how was fighting Pride for you? How was the memories that you had from there, from the amazing show in Japan?
Man, I always heard about Pride. I watch it, but I didn't know the magnitude of that show. And first we get to Japan, I fall in love with Japan. It was such a nice place, you know, clean, people so polite. And then, you know, I'm seeing my face in the newspaper and magazines. When I get there, I'm like, man, I'm not even fought yet, and I'm already famous here. One day, I decided to ask. I said I didn't care who I was fighting, but I decided to ask our manager, Kawasaki. I decided to ask him. I said, who am I fighting? And he goes, oh, tough guy. I'm like, who is tough guy? He goes, oh, judo, Olympic. I said, really? That's my first fight. That was the guy's first fight too. That was Takashi Sujura. He actually was a famous pro wrestler and a famous judo player and good wrestler too. So, like, we'd get the date of the fight, and to that point, like I said, I didn't know the magnitude of Pride. I had no idea how many people would be there watching. And then gets the time for me to fight. They call my name, and I walk into the show. I think when I faced the people, when I faced the crowd, I was more scared and I had more adrenaline than with the fight. I forgot about the fight. It was like there was so many people, and it was so big, the show. It was like going to concerts that I went before, like, you know, Hollywood Rock in Rio. It was something like that. with that magnitude, and I was just like, I froze, and I said, "Holy shit!" And I stopped, and Hansel keeps pushing me. He goes, "Yo, motherfucker, go! We need to go fast. We need to go fast." I'm like, "Man, how many people there is here?" And he goes, "Are you worried how many people are here, man? You're gonna get your fucking ass kicked right now. You have to go fight, and you worry with how many people are gonna be watching." We went there, of course. I get in. Once I step on the ring, the lights are so bright, and you don't see anything around. The mats are white, and then you know that just the light on top of you really warm. Then you forget. I'm like, okay, now I have to concentrate on my fight, and I didn't know how it was gonna be. I didn't know my feeling, getting punched in the face for the first time, and in a fight, because I fought on the street many times before, but not on the ring. I said, let's see how it's gonna be, and I know that after the fight, I said, I'm in love with that. I need to do it again, and then I start to fight. It was the transition was amazing. I am fortunate to start my career, my first fight in Pride, 100%. There's not everyone that can say that.
Fast forward on that, you fought at the IFL, you fought Bellator, you fought many shows, and then you became a coach. And people don't know, Daniel have one of the most successful gyms in the Tri-State area. It's called Gracie Philly, Daniel Gracie team. And how did it all start? You have like guys like Sean Brady out of the UFC, Paul Felder came from there. Like, you have so many studs, like so many potential like UFC champions there, all built through you. Tell us about that gym now.
Well, me and my family, at one point, we decided to move from New York to Brazil. I was not happy with New York, and we decided to move to Brazil, see how we're going to be, to live in Brazil. And it didn't work out. So I was teaching. On that time, I was a teacher at my cousin's school, at Hansel's school. And I told him, I'm leaving, I'm going to Brazil. So we get to Brazil, it didn't work out. And now we're coming back. I didn't want to call Hansel and say, Hansel, can you give me my job back? So we didn't have actually a place to go. I didn't know where to go. And my wife's father and her family, they are all from Philly. And she's from Philly too. So she said, let's stop in Philly. And, my father has a place there that we can stay. And then from there, we figure where we're going to go, where we're going to move to. I'm like, okay. So we stopped in Philly. And I remember there was a friend of mine that wanted to open a school near Philly. I don't remember where, in New Jersey, Cherry Hill maybe. But I called him and I said, I'm moving to Philly. What about, opening that school? And he goes, oh, yeah, let's do it. Why not? But Philly, let's do it in New Jersey. So we didn't know where to do it. But one day he called me, he said, look, I'm going to start to send some guys that I know, some fighters, to train with you. And I get introduced also from one of the fighters to Julio Rosario, where he has a Semper Fi. It's a school, it's a jiu-jitsu and MMA school in the northeast of Philadelphia. And I started to take the train from Fishtown to the northeast of Philadelphia. Julio will pick me up on Frankfurt Station and drive me to his school. And there I will teach a MMA class, a MMA practice, and then right after I will stay, teach jiu-jitsu and train as well. And then he'll drive me back to the station and I'll get the train back home. And we're doing that for I don't know how many months, but 4 or 5 months. So those guys that were training with me, Cage Fury came and they fought Cage Fury. And they did an unbelievable job, a terrific job. And more and more people started to come and train with us. And that's actually where I met Sean Brady, was at Semper Fi with Julio Rosario. And again, from there on, the team started to grow, and we start to fight and win fights. And then people start to talk about our team already. But I didn't have my place. I didn't have a gym. And on that time, my wife got a store that her father had in front of our house, and she opened an antique store, and she started to do good. That means, okay, I think we're staying at least for a while in Philly, and I decided to open my own school near where I was living, and that's when I opened Renzo Gracie Philly. That was in 2013, and that's when I realized that, okay, Philadelphia has great fighters and great talent, and I just need to sharpen them with what I know, and I know we're gonna do good. And we did good. Like, we were there for 2.5 or 3 years, and I already had 3 guys on the UFC. And from there, it was just growing. The only problem is Philadelphia doesn't have good schools for kids, and our kids were just, getting to the age that they're gonna get, to school, and we decided to move. So I moved. I was in Massachusetts for a while with, something like that was promised to me, like to have like the biggest team in there, and I did good there too. I actually built a team. They were fighting amateur events there. They were winning everything. I was about to do the same thing that I was doing in Philly, in Massachusetts. I spent 2 years there, but it didn't work out. The business didn't work out, and now, okay, we decide we have to move back, but to where? I said, well, I'm gonna call my cousin Renzo this time. I'm gonna move to New York, and I'm gonna go and start to teach my guys again in Philly. And from New York, I start to go Philly 3 days a week, New York 4 days a week, Philly 4 days a week, New York 3 days a week, and back and forward. And it's not that I rebuild my team, because my team was always there. They're not training with me, but they were always there. I just started again to do what I was doing, and boom, they're back to winning again. And I have now, I have so many prospects to be in big shows, and soon I'm gonna have a bunch of them on the UFC. And like you said, like you mentioned, Sean Brady get introduced to me by Julio Rosario. That was, his teacher, and brought him to me, and he's on the UFC right now. And I think, again, I know that this division has so many good fighters, but on my point of view, I really think Sean is going to be the UFC champion.
Daniel, and many people love the sport today's days. They watch the UFC, but when you talk about them to show up to a gym, to just get fit, to just learn self-defense, to just, because the main thing, guys, we more than sell a fighting style, we sell confidence. We make you prepare for the world.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to say to the person who would like to try to go and train a little bit, but is scared because sometimes they see the environment, they see fighters, they get intimidated. So what is the message they have for the people that still didn't eat from that fruit, but are itching to do?
Well, I think the best time to start martial arts, to start jiu-jitsu, is now, because on our time, jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. if you're not tough, forget it. Like that's where you have to face the bullies. You have to face tough guys in the gym, and the only people that survive and the only people that stay were tough people. Otherwise, I'm telling you, you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't go. Nowadays, jiu-jitsu and MMA is for everyone. So anyone can go and train. But the main thing is, there's a bunch of people there that they never lived the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. So they have no idea what they're doing. And those guys are insecure. Some teachers too. They have no idea how to teach. They have no idea what jiu-jitsu is about. They have no idea what is the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. And this is the people that I think they should look for if they're starting, to get someone that has history in jiu-jitsu, at least has a bloodline in jiu-jitsu, has that you know where they came from, that they came from a solid and strong team. They have not just jiu-jitsu and MMA, but they have principles, they have respect, they have things that should be taught with martial arts. And people are forgetting that. They're trying to turn jiu-jitsu into a just sport. Like sometimes I see people saying sometimes, oh, I'm gonna go work out, and they're going to train jiu-jitsu. No, fuck you. Workout, no. Jiu-jitsu can be called workout. This is something special that we're teaching you, that we did our whole life to pass to you, to go and show you that is a lifestyle. It's something totally different than just a sport. But again, with the globalization of jiu-jitsu and MMA, this is going to happen. I know it's going to happen. But you have a choice, you know, to research your teacher, research your team, and see if it is solid, if it is real. Then you sign, because there's nothing more fun and more enjoyable than learning jiu-jitsu and MMA with a great solid team. They're going to become your best friends. They're going to become, you know, partners with you. You're going to have friends for the rest of your life if you really embrace the jiu-jitsu lifestyle.
I have 2 questions for you at the end, but before, anything they want to say for our guys from Philly, our students from New York, and our guys from New Jersey from Cruz MMA?
Well, look, I know there's a bunch of tough guys there. I know there is a bunch of people with talent. But one of the things that I know and I learned with the fighting game is that if you don't have heart, you're not going to win fights. No matter how talented you are, you might win some fights because you're going to be better than a bunch of people. But one day you're going to face someone that has heart, and if you miss that on the fight, you're going to lose it. So I need people to understand that even though, yes, the game is changing, it is evolving, it's getting better, it's still solid and safe and very effective to be on the basic level that you're going to be able to defend yourself, not just go there and go for a brawl. And trust your trainers, trust your coaches, be coachable, because we give everything we have, you know, to you guys. We give everything we have to make sure we sharpen you a certain way that you're not going to lose any fights. But sometimes it's frustrating that the guy gets there. I train the guy for like 3 or 4 months, and then when I say go left, he goes right. When I say duck, he jumps. It's not the way you're going to win fights. If you don't trust your coach to do what he asks you to do it, just leave. Just go train somewhere else.
My brother, deep in your heart right now, the most truthful thing that you think in yourself, looking back from all this journey, all these years, all this experience, how do you think jiu-jitsu did the most for you?
Definitely turned me into a better man, like confident that I don't think without jiu-jitsu I will never be. I can look up to anyone, no matter who's that person, no matter how powerful they are, no matter how strong they are, no matter the amount of money they have. We jiu-jitsu put me, and I put everyone in the same level with any person, you know. This is something that I don't think anything in the world can do it. You're gonna see all kinds of religion training together, becoming best friends. You're gonna see all kinds of social level training together. You're gonna see a millionaire training with a homeless, and they both respect each other like they're best friends. I don't see any martial art, any sport, anything in the world making this connection with a human being. I don't think this can happen in anywhere else but a jiu-jitsu academy. And that's what jiu-jitsu taught me. It taught me to respect everyone and to treat everyone the same, without a level, without color, without anything. And I think this is something that I can take it from jiu-jitsu that is very special. And I think everyone that really embraced the lifestyle knows what I'm talking about.
What people see our side of the mats, our savage side. We screaming the guys, passionate way. But then you're a sweet guy. You're a highly intelligent guy. There's one side of you that not everybody see. What a message do you want to say about yourself for those who don't know a different side of you?
Well, don't step on my feet. I'm very nice. I'm very calm. But again, the thing is, for me, on my point of view, you don't have to pretend to be tough. I know I'm tough. I know what I can do, and I know who I am. So I don't need to pretend to be tough and create an image of a tough guy, because I'm not trying to impress anyone. But let me tell you, sometimes that plays against me, because people take advantage of me. They think that my kindness is my weakness, and it's not. It's my strength. And at one point, I really blow up. At one point, I get aggressive and I get angry. But the main thing is, like I said before, if you train with me and you trust what I'm doing, just do what I'm asking. Or go train somewhere else, or go train with a guy that, pretends to be tough and pretends to be a great coach, but is not, okay? And one advice that I'm gonna give it to you guys, you can say whatever, you can think whatever. I think is the biggest bullshit ever is like that great coaches can be, they don't need to compete, they don't need to be there. No, I think you need to be there. You need to feel what it is that you're teaching. Otherwise, how are you going to pass to your students what experience, what if you didn't have an experience? Like you mentioned the other day, like how are you going to teach someone to swim if you never swim in your life?
You're going to be outside of the pool just
You understand? So again, I think great coaches, they all competed, they all fought.
My brother, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you. This is Real Talk.
Guys, make sure you subscribe for the channel. Give it a thumbs up. I just had one here within a brace. We're going to keep it real. Subscribe to my channel, Plinio Cruz RealTalk.
Subscribe, motherfuckers.
Hey.